Okay, by now you should have seen a demonstration of computer-assisted note-taking beyond the 2 lectures that I've previously given. And so this is kind of where I'm wrapping up and transitioning from computer-assisted note-taking to how are we going to do the midterm and final exam. So the midterm and final for the computer-assisted note-taking are intended to be a reflection of how well you did in providing the service in a real-time environment. And it measures 2 things, basically. First, it measures that you've captured the main ideas that are present. And you will not know what I consider the main ideas, but it's not all that difficult. That includes details, because when we're doing instructional content, if they tell you that certain dimensions, well, that's a specific aspect of the instruction. If it's a cup of vinegar, then it's a cup of vinegar. It's not add vinegar. And so those details end up being essential. Plus, I need to know what it's a cup of, right? So the main point is, yes, there's vinegar in this mix and whatever other ingredients, but I need to know how much. Or, yes, I'm using this kind of lumber, and I need to know the dimensions, and whatever the task is. So you have to get the main point and the details that are specific and fudgeable. That if you mess up on the dimensions, you have a different product or a different result. So that's one aspect of it, is the content of what you're giving access to. Competing with that is that I'd ask you to generate 1/2 or less the number of keystrokes. And typing a space key is a keystroke, because that's how we define a word in the world of text. A word is a string of characters with spaces on either side. Yes, I can count the words, but we're doing abbreviations, or you should be using abbreviations. It makes sense in art, ambiguous. So that's the challenge. When you're done, the way I used to do this was I would play a video in the classroom, and people would work on it, and I had that snapshot of how they did. And then I would let them edit the thing that they would do and turn that in for a different process of the grade. Given that makes no sense anymore, and I no longer have the videos of these instructional components. I cannot find them online. So I can't show the video anymore in class. So I'm left with, here's the text, and so here's the people involved. Here's what, how they're identified, and so yeah, you need to tell me who's saying what, but you don't necessarily have the whole name every time. Once we get going, you could just use the first letter of the alphabet, and so there are ways to reduce how many keystrokes are necessary. This is the expectation in computer-assisted note-taking. You're not being a verbatim captionist. That's a very specialized field. Largely court reporters, people who've been trained to be court reporters. In fact, most of the people who provide computer-aided real-time transcription, or CART, are former or retiring court reporters, because they find out that they enjoy working with deaf people so much more than the pressures of the courtroom and judges and all that stuff. And so, anyway, that's a rarefied art, because you're using a computer program to link between the spoken language and the written text, and you have to process a certain amount of it in your brain, and the computer processes the rest, and it can be verbatim. That's the whole point of court reporting, is that it is a verbatim transcript of what happened in the courtroom. So those people can provide a verbatim transcript of whatever your conversation is, and they're not cheap. Not to say that you're cheap, but computer-assisted note-taking is a cheaper service. It's a less precise service. The better typist you are, great, increase your rate. If you're a hunt and peck typist, you can still provide the service. But you're going to have to be smart about it, and that means abbreviations, listening, processing, putting up points, and not doing more than you need to. And so that's the key thing in the computer-assisted note-taking midterm. And in the final, that you have your keystrokes down to 1/2 or less, so you have just enough keystrokes, and that you have your message intact, and doing both, that's a successful effort. So good luck with your midterm and final.